When we think of evolution, we often think of the biology textbooks we read in high school and think of it in terms of an organism's ability to adapt to the environment in which it's placed and the necessary changes it needs in order to survive. And trust me, this isn't a biology lecture. This is about the music industry, and it applies because bands have to make changes in order to survive in the music industry. That's why in 2016, Portugal's Gaerea emerged and they proved that not only can they survive, they can definitely thrive in the world of extreme metal. Now, early albums like Unsettling Whispers and Limbo, they emerged and yeah, they were pretty good, but it was really Mirage that set them apart. There's this really aggressive and raw approach to black metal, this post black metal with a really aggressive hardcore edge, and their energy was just relentless. And I knew that when they were playing Fortress Festival in June 2024, I had to be there. That was, they were the main draw for me that weekend and one of the best live bands of the whole weekend. That's why I was even more excited to get my hands on Coma when it came out in October 2024. Now, this might be a bit of a hot take, but I wasn't that sold on Coma, to be honest, and I was a bit let down, really. Maybe the bar was too high for me after Mirage. Even with this more mainstream and accessible sound, some people have described it as, they're still getting big slots on the likes of Vakken and headlining Damnation's second stage in 2025, so it can't be that bad. But it got me thinking, what would the new album Lost be like? Would it represent more of a post-metal edge? Would it be more like the old school black metal approach? Would it be a bit of both, or would it be something completely different? Let's find out. Now, when you listen to Loss, and the most salient feature will definitely be the choruses on the album, which are absolutely huge anthemic bursts and those huge melodic hooks that they simply don't have on Mirage, I don't think. And the choruses are so much stronger on Loss. Now they got likes of Luminary. When I listened to it for the first time, I found myself constantly rewinding and then going back and found myself singing it out loud in random bursts during the day. So it's definitely stuck in my subconscious, and I'm pretty sure it'll do the same for you. Then there's likes of Submerged and Phoenix with equally big choruses. I think it's a much stronger vocal performance in general. There's more diction and clarity in his voice. The lyrics are more pronounced and you can relate to them better and understand them more. And definitely find yourself more immersed in this narrative that's unfolding and feel the emotion behind each word. And that's something missing on older albums, so it's definitely going in the right direction for Gaerea. Now, some bands, they just rely on these choruses too much and don't really think about anything else. But Gaerea, this is definitely not the case for them. The build for the chorus, the build towards the chorus is definitely worth the ride and just as satisfying as the chorus themselves. They've got some amazing builds, like I say. Some absolutely glorious guitar tones as well. And that comes from the fact that, well, most likely the fact that, they don't have amplifiers in the traditional sense when they play live. They use this kind of direct input setup, and that means that they can record the sound a lot easier. They can go back and listen to it, review, and have that continuous improvement. And I think that approach has definitely helped them in the studio in crafting out the best tones they could possibly get. They've got some amazing atmospheric soundscapes. In fact, if you want atmosphere, check out Hellbound. That's an absolute scorcher. It's quite mellow and ambient in the beginning, but then they just unleash all unmitigated hell at you, and it's a bruise of a track. And it feels like that old school sound from the older albums, but a bit more polished and refined. And with this, I think Gaerea are leaning more into the post-metal side on Loss. The huge atmospheres and the soundscapes and the more experimental kind of song structures. And I think, the earlier black metal influences, I wouldn't say completely lost, but, the tremolo pick guitars, the blast beats, the high-pitched shrieking vocals, they're nowhere near as prominent on Loss as were the likes of Mirage or Limbo. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that maybe we won't see them on the likes of Fortress Festival again in the future, or the black metal lineups. Now, I did touch on song structure there, and I want to talk about that a bit because there's some songs on older albums which like 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes long, and they felt really unnecessary because there's some sections in there that were, you know, just too long really. Ambient parts that felt more like an advert break than, actually sections that are supposed to build tension and intrigue. And I feel like Loss is a lot more truncated and there's definitely less filler on the album. I mean, there's still some segments that are a lot quieter and they're definitely necessary for the overall pacing and ebb and flow of the album. But at the same time, though, they're not, 2 minute advert breaks as I felt like they were on some songs on the older albums. And yeah, some people just can't sit through a 9, 10 minute long song. I mean, I can, but I'm weird. Most people won't sit through that. If they get bored, they'll switch songs. They'll stream the next thing on Spotify, and that's definitely not what bands want. So there we go. Those are some random thoughts for myself and my feelings towards Gaerea and Loss. I mean, it's not better than their older albums. It's not better than Mirage necessarily. It's just different. And I think with this shift in compositional style, they will lose some fans as a result, but I think they'll definitely gain more because it's a brilliant album. I've listened to it multiple times already, which says it all, which sums it up really, the impact it's had on me. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be in a lot of people's top tens at the end of the year.